I'm really excited because today I'm going to go and see firsthand just what effect it has paying a decent price, a fair trade price, for vanilla. These children are the vanilla children. These are the children of the vanilla farmers. And when we pay a fair price for our vanilla, when we're baking our cupcakes or making our pancakes or our panna cotta or whatever it is that we are buying, when we buy a fair trade, the farmers behind me get a fair price. If we pay a fair price, these children get to go to school, but they get to go to school and get a good education. And with a good education, they can run businesses and they can make Uganda into a better place. So next time you're picking your vanilla off the supermarket shelf and you're thinking about your list of things you've got to do and taking the kids to the football and what you're making for supper and all of those things that you're doing, remember that when you pick the fair trade price, you've picked a fair price. These people, these children's parents, are getting a real price that is a right price for their product. So we're in Balimi in the foothills of the Mountains of the Moon. Lily, you were saying that these vanilla pods are an exceptionally good vanilla pod.
Yes, I wanted to point them out to you because quite honestly I've never seen a bean as long as this one. This must be around 230 millimetres long, and most beans they end up being like 150 millimetres up to maybe 170, 180, 190, but to get a bean as long as this is absolutely tremendous. It's just showing that this vine is loving the soil, it's loving the climate, and more than that, he's managed to find a clever trick to keep the flower, the pollinated flower, staying onto the growing tip. So do you see here, there's no flower attached at the end there, whereas here we've got the dried flower that's stayed on ever since it was pollinated. Here's a younger bean, a much younger bean that's still growing. It's still got the flower on.
So while they've got those flowers on, they're still, in effect, they're still growing.
They keep growing longer and longer, but as soon as the flower drops off, it'll stop its growth. It'll carry on maturing, but it won't grow any longer. And the trick to get a good long, fat vanilla bean is to have a really good pollination, which then enables the flower to fix well and stay on. And a lot of that can be to do with weather, and the farmer himself will be able to tell you.
And so that will produce a much superior size of bean. And does that make any effect to the vanilla the crystals as well?
Crystals can come on smaller beans. Crystals is about maturity, the actual length of time it stays growing on the vine, but also the way you cure the vanilla as well, because you can cure it in such a way that you kill off part of the vanillin content. So you need to encourage that fermentation process to get the crystals to come.
So these will take from pollination to this sort of size. They'll take about 9 months. So how this is next year's crop? This is December's crop. So this has to stay on for another.
This needs to stay on until January next year. Yeah.
Right.
So 9 to 10 months. You keep the beans on the vine, and then you're guaranteed fantastic quality vanilla.
This very clever technique that Sassy has been teaching people is to form a sort of mini pond here, which captures the water. And so as the water comes down the road, he's dug a gully, formed a dip here, and that has created a pool of water. So in the dry season, these pods have still got water, whereas others haven't. So this is one of the reasons that they're so fat and juicy and such beautiful long green vanilla pods. And this is your teaching of the organic methods that has done this.
Yes, I feel proud that I've managed to have the farmers taking the advice that is helping us to have very good yield, and also helping the sustainability on the farms.
No, these chaps have been working really hard because we were there fairly late last night, with seeing the farmers sort of bringing you buying this vanilla. What time did they get back in last night?
It was a really long day. So they started about 7 in the morning and then didn't get back until 10 at night. So they're unloading in the dark. But we did have a problem with the lorry, it broke down.
One of the potholes in the road. There we are.
Yeah. So these bags are actually quite light for these guys. Normally they'll be lifting 60 kilos on their own.
Effort. So they're going from here and we're going to take them across to the processing plant over here. And this is where we're heading to next. These are the beans that have come off the back of the lorry. These are the fair trade organic beans. And they're being processed and sorted. They're just pulling out any of them that are not ripe. We're looking for a yellow bean, a slightly yellow bean. And these lads here are just picking through them. We're going to be blanching these green beans now, and this is quite a speedy process. Here we are. They've been put into a basket here, which this basket is effectively a colander. We're just moving across. It's quite an urgent thing to do because it's the speed at which this goes in. The whole basket is being put into this barrel, and this barrel has been sitting here under this fire, heating up, and it heats up to a temperature of around about 60 degrees, and it's really important for these beans to stay moving and so that they cook at an even temperature. So they're being timed.
This is called getting it all done. So we're just blanching the beans now for 3 minutes, which you may already have said. And any minute now, hopefully these beans will be coming out of the drum onto the blanket.
And is it really important? I mean, I've been watching this going on. I mean, these girls run with those beans like the clappers, and they're really going to, because it's very important to keep that heat in that blanket. Why is it so important?
To get the beans to cure, so we do really good curing, we want to create as much warmth as we can. So we don't want the beans to be cooling down before they get to the sweating boxes.
Lily, I'm just wondering, how many tons of beans a year do you process like this?
It depends on the harvest, but last year we did around 100 tons of green beans.
100 tons of green beans went through this?
Yes, in 2 seasons, in 2 cooking seasons. So now Abia is
the timer is
4
about.
seconds.
We're down to 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Now I'm going to have to mine out of the way any second now. Okay. Stop. Right, I'm moving over here. I'm catching. Right, go, go, go. It's so important these beans right now get heated, wrapped up in this blanket, 100 miles an hour. I'm stepping back. Speed, speed, speed. And it's go, go, go. We're getting into the processing house now. We're taking these beans and keep this little camera of mine steady. And here there's a man waiting. He's waiting to tuck these beans up. He's taking them off her, popping them in. It's really important. The speed keeps the temperature up. And he's wrapping them, tucking them up, wrapping them up like a baby in a blanket. And this is where the curing starts. And they stay in there for 48 hours. And this happens how many times a day, Lulu?
Oh, multiple. Maybe 100, maybe 200 times a day. We'll start curing after we've got the water hot, which might be like at 10, and we might finish at 6 in the evening. So we just keep going every 3 minutes or so with blanket after blanket after blanket after blanket. There isn't a massive market for real vanilla. Most people know about artificial vanilla. So it was always going to be low volume. So that meant in order to make the brand work, it had to get into a supermarket. Even before I'd branded the product and was nagging the buyer there, if I was to produce the most incredible vanilla from Uganda, would you be interested? what was incredible was that first that I was phoning all the way from Uganda, and mostly it's very, very hard to get hold of a buyer on the phone. Normally you get the answering machines, and for some fluke I got through on my second call, and she spoke to me, and instead of just brushing me off, which I was entirely expecting, she listened, she was interested, she encouraged me, and she said, she gave me advice. She said, well, if we're going to stock your vanilla, why would we? You've got to give me a reason. So then I put the phone down and thought, right, we're going to do it. And this is when we went ahead and got our fair trade farmers together, got the certification, turned to organic vanilla, and then I approached her again with my packaging. It was thanks to that
Encouragement.
that I was able to continue with the business and go forward and have the confidence of the brand when she then finally accepted the product, all within... I think it took me 2 years to develop the concept. To be honest, if it wasn't for that initial encouragement, I wouldn't have had the nerve to go ahead and do this whole business. So these are pure vanillin crystals, which happen when your bean is so full of flavour. By flavour I mean vanillin, which is the compound responsible for the typical flavour that we associate with vanilla, because there are over 400 other flavours within the bean, not just vanillin. But vanillin is, as I say, that major vanilla hit that we get. So when the bean is so saturated with vanillin, it can contain it no more, and the moisture content within the bean is reduced to a certain rate, then these crystals will just explode on the surface and within your bean.
You describe these as the champagne and truffles of vanilla. So when we're buying our vanilla at home and we're looking for seriously good ones, when we get to look at it, if we find these crystals, this is the absolute best vanilla that there is in the world.
Absolutely, you cannot get better than this.